Good afternoon. What I want to focus on today is that there is a hand that moves us to make a decision. And I'm going to show you this. I want to start off today's reading, though, by drawing your attention to Matthew 24. And I'm going to read there, first of all, verse 14, a very interesting verse. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. We notice here that there is a particular message that needs to be taken to the ends of the earth. Right after this statement, before we can expect Jesus to come, some things are to happen. And I want you to notice that Jesus draws our attention in verse 15 to this. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Jesus draws our attention to the fact that we need to understand what's happening in the book of Daniel. Daniel plays a very important role in forming the foundation so that when we get actually to the book of Revelation, we will know what to look for. Remember, in the story or the book of Daniel, we have stories and we have prophecies. And today we are about to enter into again the story that takes place in Daniel chapter 5, and it's regarding the fall of Babylon. Now, I want to draw your attention to this. We've just come out of the background where Nebuchadnezzar, having eaten grass, being of a lowly disposition, raises his eyes towards heaven and praises God, acknowledges God as supreme. Here in Daniel chapter 5, we introduce to his grandson, who now, knowing, and I'm going to show you this, that his grandfather, had gone through these things and had finally humbled himself before God, in some sense does not acknowledge his grandfather's ways, but turns from his ways. It is quite sad, friends, that families don't always end taking the same paths, and we sometimes wonder why. Here we see Belshazzar. Remember, we spoke about him yesterday. Belshazzar gets a banquet going. I want you to notice the background. He's got a banquet going. He's now invited thousands of his nobles, and he's drinking wine with them. Nebuchadnezzar was on his own, making a decision on his own, coming out of sackcloth and ashes, arising in some sense out of death and receiving life. Here we see the mindset of Belshazzar, and that is that he is celebrating. He brings his nobles in. He then gives order that the treasures that were found in Jerusalem's temple, in God's, the creator of heaven and earth's temple, he brings those goblets in and they're drinking from them. And then I want you to notice something that happens. As they drank the wine out of these goblets, listen to what they do. They praise the gods, and I want you to notice the sequence here, of gold and silver, of bronze, iron, and stone. Now, I wonder, does this sound familiar to you in some way? Do you remember Nebuchadnezzar's dream? In the dream, we had certain metals. We had gold, we had silver, we had bronze, we had iron, and then we had iron and clay. We notice right here that in the way in which Belshazzar is praising Baal Marduk, praising their gods, they praise them as gods showing that their kingdoms will rule forever. They praise the god of gold. They praise the next god, which is a god of silver. They praise the next god, which is a god of bronze. And then they praise the next god, which is the god of iron. And finally they end with wood and stone. I'm intrigued by this. Is there some relation taking place here? Is there something we need to see? Is God supreme? Will other kingdoms follow Babylon, or will the Babylonian kingdom rule forever? We are about to see that although people talk about this world and that this world will carry on forever, we see that God's prediction is that Babylon will come to an end, and so will this world. I'm asking you, friends, today to come reason with me. Remember, faith is based on knowledge. And as we study these things which are historically accurate, may we learn to know that God knows the future, and it's the best place to place our lives in is in the palm of that mighty hand. May God guide you today as you listen to this message.